Good evening. We're going over the orientation of IGCSE Biology. This session will be divided into 5 parts. The first part talks about the plan for this year, meaning the schedule, when are we going to start, when are we going to finish the syllabus, so on. The next part talks about the exam papers. So we'll get familiarized with the uh, type of exam papers, the format of the exam papers, and how you'll be asked during the exams. Third, we will look at the best way you could study biology. Number four, we will look at the organization of the subject, meaning we will have an overview on IGCSE biology, the chapters, the topics. And before we leave, I'm gonna see if you have any questions, right? At any moment you have questions, just raise your hand and I'll open the mic for you. So let's start with the important dates. When are we going to start? We're going to start on Wednesday, the 4th of September. That's the first class. We will have classes weekly, every Wednesday, every Thursday at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is 1 hour before this time. So now is 6 p.m. where I live. 5 p.m. is 1 hour. So you can check your time zone, 5 p.m. Kuwait or Saudi times. So we're going to have 2 classes. The first class is the one where we explain the content. So we're going to do the theory part, explain the topics, and I'll be solving the important questions, those questions that are more challenging for students. I usually solve on the first day. The second day, Thursday, we will look at other questions. So Thursday's class is just for solving exam questions. Plus, on Thursday, every week, we will have a quiz. So we're going to have a quiz on Thursday on what we studied on Wednesday. The last Thursday of every month, we will have a test. So the test will help us to link up all the topics that we studied during that specific month. So every month, the last Thursday is a monthly test. Now, we're expected to be done with about 60% of the syllabus, biology syllabus, by the end of December. So December 26th, we're expected to be done with 60%. That's more than half, obviously, of the syllabus. And when we return back the next year on January, we will have a mock test. That mock test will cover those 60% that we've already studied. When are we going to be done with the entire syllabus? The whole syllabus will be done by the 1st of March. So 1st of March is the time when we start studying, revising, I should say. So on March onwards, all the way until the exams, is the time where we be solving full past papers. So we'll get to learn those exam techniques. Plus, so it'll be 2 classes like usual. One class is solving full exam papers, and the second one is meant to revise, meaning we're gonna link up all the topics we studied during the year. Usually we do this through mind maps, like this mind maps, like connecting all the topics together. Plus, every year we solve 100 questions. Those 100 questions usually are the ones that are most repetitive, meaning they're very likely to come on your exam. All right. So this was about the dates. Now let's get to the assessment. So Obviously, you need to track your progress. That's the students and for the parents to observe how is it happening with their children. So as I told you, every class, during the class, there will be like pop-up quizzes. So you'll find something on your screen asking you about something you've just studied. Soon I will show you an example. Um, you'll have a homework, a weekly homework. That homework should be submitted within like, it should be submitted by Friday. So you take your class on Wednesday. By Friday night, you should be submitting. As I told you, there's a quiz on Thursday. There's a test at the end of every month. And those mock tests we will have. So we'll have one in Jan, that 60% I was telling you about. And we will have one in April, just before the exam. That's to just prepare ourselves. How do we track the progress? So we have a dedicated app for that. I showed you this during the chemistry lesson. So you have, it's called Results. It looks like this. I'll send you a link to download. So once you insert your phone number, it will take you to your sheet or report, you could say, and that will have all information about your quizzes, homework, and overall progress, which is very useful to look at every week, at least once. All right. Now let's get to check the exam papers. So in Cambridge IGCSE, we have 3 exam papers. This one big exam paper that is worth 50% of your overall. That's paper 4. Paper 4 is the theory paper. It's the easiest. If you ask me, like, which one of those papers is the one that is easy, paper 4 is very helpful, not only for practicing. Usually I ask my students to use it for studying itself, meaning while you're solving those written questions, you'll have the ability to study. So you write the answer with an open book that would help you to study. So paper 4 is 7 questions, 7 long questions, meaning each question is like A, B, C, D. The total number of marks for this paper is 80, and each mark here, so there are like 80 marks, right? Each mark is worth 1.25 of your overall mark. The overall mark for your IGCSE is 200, all right? So if you multiply, let's do some maths here. If you multiply those 80 times 1.25, you get 100, which is 50% of your total of 200. All right. So that is paper 4, the easiest among the 3 papers, the ones that would help you to study. Next comes paper 6. Paper 6 has the least percentage. It's worth 20%. And these 20%, they're, sorry, I should say paper 6, which is this one here. Paper 6 takes 1 hour, and still written questions, still written answers, I should say, just 4 ones. Total is 40 marks, and each mark is just worth 1 mark, meaning if you take those 200 I was telling you about, your overall 200, it would still be 40. All right. What paper 6 is about, it's, as I told you, they're practical questions. So during the almost all the lessons have some practical part. So during the class, we simulate those practicals, meaning I show you the experiment, how this experiment is done. And they ask you questions about the practical part. Now, why you should be starting paper 6 from the beginning. Some students or sometimes some teachers, unfortunately, they don't put too much effort to focus on paper 6 because it's just 20%. But these are skills. That paper 6 exam is based on skills, and you need to develop those skills early in the year, right? Usually you get questions where you're going to have to plan experiments, write about lab equipment, how would you control variables, these practical stuff. And to develop those skills would take you time. And what about the last paper, paper 2? This paper usually comes late. It's usually is in June. The exams of paper 4 and paper 6 come early in May. But paper 2 exam comes in June. This is the multiple choice questions. And if you ask me which one's like the trickiest paper, it's going to be paper 2. There are 40 multiple choice questions. Each question is worth 1.5 marks, meaning per mark, this paper has the highest like weight in terms of its marks, meaning if you lose 1 mark here, it weighs more than if you lose a mark in paper 6 or if you lose a mark in paper 4. Luckily, because it comes late, because it's like the last exam and you have like a whole like almost 4 weeks to prepare for it, you will have enough time to master this paper 2. And again, during the year we will be practicing paper 2, but again, I don't recommend to put too much effort learning those paper 2 questions at the beginning of the year, because first, they're tricky. Second, they're trying to, you need like extra knowledge to answer these questions. So that's these are the exam papers. Let me just show you one last thing here, which is the grade boundaries, like how much it takes for you to score a 9 or an A star. Here it's 160. That's an average. Usually it goes up to 170. The last exam session was very different from all other exam sessions. I'm not going to say why, but usually it's within that range to score an A star. So you would need to score 163 and above to get to an A star in IGCSE, Cambridge IGCSE Biology. The next part is on how should you study for biology. Now, I've seen this so many times over the years that some students put so much effort trying to learn biology, but their efforts are going in the wrong direction. There's always an easy way to study for biology. So I'm going to show you like 4 steps that you could do to master biology, to learn biology the best way, so you could put less effort and achieve higher grades. It all starts in the lesson itself. So during the lesson, you need to try your best to stay engaged. I try my best to engage you during the lesson in many ways, simulations, demonstrations, quiz during the lesson, so that you would stay focused during the class. But you should also try your part. So now I'll show you one way you could stay focused as much as possible during the lesson. So that's the lesson part. Then comes the revision. The best way to revise is to look at the notes during and after the class. As soon as possible after the class, try to go through the notes. That will help you to remember those things you took during the class. Next comes the practice. If you ask me which one is the most important part of this process, it's going to be the practice part. So that's where you store the information in your brain. That's where you engage your memory. And the last step, which is the one that comes late, before the exams, that's when you connect the information. Meaning you connect all these lessons you studied during the month or all the lessons you've learned during the year. All right. So again, these are the 4 levels that you would be learning biology through. Let's go into more depth on how you could apply this method. So as I told you, it all starts in the lesson. So as I told you, we would, during the lesson, I solve questions along with you, meaning I'll send you that same question in front of you here before the class as a PDF, and you solve along with me. That would be such a good way that you would stay engaged because you have a target. Your target is to solve all the questions you have in this PDF, and I am solving along with you, all right? Then, again, still during the lesson, try to keep the notes open so you could track what I'm talking about. I usually go by those notes. So keep those notes open and read along with me, or just track those important keywords or highlight those keywords I'm talking about. Also, during the lesson, I try to make it entertaining to engage you. So you would see me doing experiments like the one I'm doing here about photosynthesis. There are activities during the lesson. So all of this would for sure help you to stay engaged. And the more engaged during the lesson, the less time you will be spending studying. So if you invest in trying to be focused during the lesson, that will help you, that will save you time later on, right? So that was step 1. Step 1 is the lesson itself. Step number 2 is the revision time. And as I always say, revise during the first couple of days. That's the time when you still remember what we did during the lesson. So here you can see that if you revise within the first couple of days, that's scientifically proven, you would still remember almost 60% of what you have learned during the class. The longer you wait, the more you're forgetting. So if you wait like 1 week after the class, you will almost forget everything you've studied, which is just a waste of time. So that's why do this before you start your year. Do like a timetable. When are the times you're gonna be taking the lessons? This will be provided by your teachers, but you should also plan times specific for revision. So if your lesson of biology on Wednesday, do a revision session on Thursday or Friday. So that will help you to store those information for a longer period of time, right? But you've seen here that we only reach 60%. Our target is to reach up to 100 of learning. So how are we meant to do this? Next thing is the practice. So we're going to start practicing. This is the time when you start to raise that level, raise that 60% up to 100. So you'll start solving, but you don't have, like with biology, you need to have those keywords ready in your mind so you can be able to write answers. So at the beginning, solve with an open book. It's very good practice to learn those exam skills. Plus, it would help you to memorize. So memorization doesn't come by just reading, highlighting. That is passive learning. that's not very effective. But if you try this, open the book and the questions and solve, those would help you to store the information, learn, memorize all at once. Plus, you get those important exam skills. Very important is that when you're learning biology, specifically biology, is to mind those syllabus changes. A couple of years back, the IGCSE biology syllabus has changed, and they've removed a lot of questions and topics. So that's why when you're dealing with past papers, with questions, with notes, you should be aware that so many topics have changed. So just be aware of that. The notes I'm going to give you and the questions have already been updated. So don't worry about that. Right? So that is the memorization. You can see here. Try your best to minimize the time you're reading, trying to memorize the notes, and spend more time practicing. So if like you spend 20 minutes here, you should be spending 1 hour solving exam questions. And from here, you could raise your learning, you raise your understanding up to 100%. So no matter how much you read, no matter how much you highlight and rewrite, you're not going to reach that level until you start doing that active learning. That's the one when you recall the information by solving past papers. Right? Now, let's get to number 4. Number 4 is something you'll be doing once per month. That's when you, before the tests, and you'll be doing it later on during the year when you're reaching the time when you're revising for the exam. So again, solving full exam papers. This technique, you should be starting with the old exam papers first, and then you reach to the new ones. Why? Usually the older ones are easier. Plus, when you reach to the new ones, you'll be more ready because the new exam papers are quite more similar to the ones you'll be solving. Save a couple of exams to the end, meaning like those exams of 2023, 2024 are very useful because they're very similar to your actual exam. So don't waste those new exam papers at the beginning, save them till the end, because those are the ones that will help you to like mimic or simulate the actual exam. While solving full exams, this will help you to build connections. Since this subject is quite long, when you solve full exam papers, that will help you to connect all the topics you've learned during the year. Plus, it would help you to, while you solve, let's say you've been solving this question, and this question you didn't get it all correct. So mark that question, highlight it, so you could come back to it later. Moreover, if you just solve as solving, that's not going to be very helpful unless what? Unless you check your answers. So again, at the beginning, solve, mark per question, then mark the entire paper. And then later on, you would have all these papers you've solved with all of your mistakes. That would be the best study package designed just for you because it's based on your knowledge and based on your weaknesses. So if you could just go over those mistakes the night of the exam, that will help you to avoid those mistakes on the same day of the exam. All right. Remember those exam papers that we kept to the end? Those are the ones that will help us to manage time. I've seen this so many times that students very well prepared, but they don't manage to finish or don't manage to answer all the exam questions. Reason? Because they don't have that time management skill. So do full mock exam. I'm going to help you to do mock exams. I mark it for you. Also, when you do full mock exams, you should be able to finish those exams. Try your best to finish those exams at least 15 minutes before the end. You'll find it very difficult to finish the entire exam paper at the beginning, but with practice, with more mock exams, you should be able to finish those mock exams at least 15 minutes before the time allocated for that exam. Why 15 minutes? Because you need that 15 at the end to revise your answers. Sometimes you may miss a question or a paper. So those 15 minutes at the end will help you to just fill in the gaps, check your answers, and see if you've missed any question. All right. So quick recap, lesson, try to focus as much as you can. Revise within 48 hours. Practice, spend more time practicing than trying to memorize. 4 is, before the exam, solve as many full exam papers, all till new. And time management is so essential. Right now, I'm going to show you the exam topics, or I should say the topics or the chapters of biology. Then I'm going to see if you have any question. So again, biology, I've divided this into 30 topics based on the syllabus, but I have my own approach of learning this subject. I divided the topics into smaller ones, which help us to link them up first, and would help us to learn them in smaller chunks than just having long topics. Now, it starts those topics at the beginning. You see classification. Those are the topics we usually start during the year. Those ones require a lot of memorization. You might get disappointed at the beginning, but then comes the more interesting topics, the ones that are more related to humans. They come later on. So again, the first couple of topics talk about classification. Then comes those topics here. Those are the ones that I call them the foundation of biology. They talk about cells, they talk about molecules. So those are the topics that will prepare you for all the other topics of biology. So that's why at the beginning, try to get a good grasp of those topics about cells, molecules, enzymes, because we will always refer to those topics throughout the year. Then we will have 2 lessons about plants, one about photosynthesis and one about plant transport. And from here onwards, you'll find biology becoming more interesting because it's related to you, related to your body. So we learn about nerves, heart, kidneys, and all these topics related to your body. And the last few topics here are related to the environment. So let me show you a better view of the subject, which is the one I have here. So remember those topics that I told you about: cells, molecules, respiration. Those are what we call the essential topics. Those are the topics that will help you to build a foundation to understand the entire subject. Then comes those 2 topics related to plants. And then it's all about humans, organ systems of your body. And those lessons that are related to the environment. We call this usually study of the environment. We call that ecology. All right. This means we're fully done with this session. I'll answer your questions. If you don't have questions, then you're good to go. Have a great weekend.